The band is dealing with a crisis. You must speak.
This is kind of an unusual set for me. It was a little fly by the seat of my pants, if you couldn't tell. It was the ambient, let's all drop some drugs kind of set.
Yeah, the PC is doing video and the Mac is doing sound. And this is sort of an experimental setup because usually it's been, if anything, it's been the reverse.
Kind of what Alfred's saying, by introducing more constraints, you kind of find new ways to work with material. And the same way with programming, when you have constraints, you're working with this device that looks like it could have been made, 40 years ago. I mean, it's still really, really dynamic.
No, it seems pretty comfortable for me. But then again, I always wanted to hear hard techno. So, yes.
I think the Phil Donahue mic is over here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is there a switch?
Is it on? There we go. Got it? Yeah.
It really depends on if it goes well. If it goes well, it's really pretty sweet, but this time it was kind of sloppy.
Discombobulated.
Yeah. It was kind of...
Hey, we were awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I'm the optimist, apparently.
I think I put everybody to sleep with that set. I should have.
No, that's good. It was excellent.
Yeah.
Obviously. We're an improv band.
Yeah.
Was it obvious?
Cool.
But I'm all for abusing existing plugins. So even beat repeat is being, beat repeat was kind of designed to be abused.
Yeah. So for instance, like the piano sound you were playing with is that a Novation controller you have down there?
Yeah, it's a little Novation Remote SL, which I'm also using to mix when I can keep track of where I am and I can just grab the mouse. But yeah.
Cool. So, as is customary, why don't you just give us a rundown of all the gear that you have?
I'm actually not sure how to say it, being a person who lives among words.
What are the little boxes like stacked up?
My little boxes. Yeah. I just bought this little awesome
Echo Verb.
Echo Verb, but it's really just a spring reverb. And we're lucky enough to, it wasn't super loud, so the thing just, doesn't just self-oscillate and have fun. And then I got this little
Yeah, what about the one below it?
tape echo
Yeah.
that my friend gave me. Yeah, I got it there. It's a little self-promotion, which is an old Univox that has a little awesome cassette tape input. And then my Big Muff, which is the distortion pedal. Yeah. And
Yeah, this is a little creative webcam.
Oh yeah.
Driverless webcam, so it can go between my two machines. I mean, it's interesting for me. I mean, especially with it being the Make conference, kind of switching between building your own tools as hardware and building your own tools as software, and then sometimes taking existing tools and not touching the tools themselves, but trying to see how you can manipulate them to turn them into something other than what they normally are.
So the box with the flashing white chiclet box thing. Oh, you remember that? Oh yeah. Want to hear it? Well, it could still be going.
Turntable. All right.
I've tended to run mostly on Mac live.
Oh, okay.
To be honest.
So live is in live performance or live is in Ableton Live?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They've become kind of the same thing.
They're just normal toggles. It's on off. I mean, it's absolute minimalism. When you have like a grid of that many buttons, you don't need specificity. It doesn't need to be like a pressure sensitive. It doesn't need to be a drum pad. It's just literally like on off.
As many plugins as possible. Right. Well, not as many plugins as possible, but as many live inputs as possible.
I was actually listening to this awesome radio program talking about how a lot of times now kids are kind of fundamentally trained from as young as they are on classical instruments, or then they get into this theory and stuff, and they're not given the time to just make sound and bang. And
there's something visceral about people who don't know anything about electronic music. I'll perform places that are quite odd sometimes, and they get it by the end usually. But after an hour of just seeing these blinking lights and unfortunately not much else, sadly, they usually kind of get the concept by the end, and it's partially because it's so the same. Like, I'll press it, it'll play there, it won't bounce around at all.
Yeah, that he
To,
mixes right into his thingy doodle there.
What about you, Drew?
I
What do you-
got Ableton running, and I run Native Instruments keyboard shit through trash and more trash. I usually have like 3 or 4 layers of that.
Trash is a distortion plugin by Isotope. Yeah.
Isotope rules, man. Their shit's good. And they're not annoying like Native Instruments. Like, we're gonna hog all your processor power. Thank you. Thank you for letting me run one plugin, dudes.
So when you guys started out, how did you start?
Well, maybe just give us a brief rundown of how you just organize your music and your tracks and how you trigger sounds and samples and how you get the little lights to automate like that.
Well, I can't say how the lights automate, but I can tell you how I use it personally. If you guys aren't familiar, the Mono-Me or Monome is a hardware and a software combination. It has a whole bunch of different software options. I'm using some software called MLR, and that's one particular organization of allowing samples to play across. And anytime I interfere with a sample, this would be perfect. Let me see, I'll change the sample. Let's do that. So here's a fast one. So little drums. At any point I press in those drums, we'll play that point. I can do loops and reverses and some memory recording. This is unfortunately kind of a large loop, so the actual grain of my controlling it is kind of limited. But you know, the actual notes I'm playing little instances of it. So
Like basically like a 4-bar phrase,
Yeah.
and those are quarter notes or 16th notes or 8th notes, or
the
can you break
larger
it
the
down
sample
wherever
you
you
put
want?
in, it's going to divide it into 16 or less steps.
Okay.
So if you're dealing with something in 3, usually I'll put it in 12 steps, or if it's something in 4, I'll put it in 16. And then the grain of it, like if it's just a single instance of a note, you have that much more control, which is really fun for getting in between sounds.
Right.
Getting to the unknown territory of what is like not making a sound. You can, in the distant background, you can hear little things, and that's
Right.
really fun. The best thing though, it doesn't quantize to peaks
Right.
or something.
Yeah,
It isn't
exactly.
that smart of a system, which is awesome though, because then it forces you to really wrestle with the material as is. Soon. Yeah.
The new 16 by 16 is almost ready. So
Hear that, kids?
That's right. 16
That's the same. It's going to be roughly the same size as this, but
Yeah.
thinner and just USB and beautiful.
All right.
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.